Every high fantasy TV show of the last 20 years has converged on the exact same structure, a world of infinite magical possibility. An ancient prophecy, a dragon, or two. And then, at the center of all of it, a love triangle between three 24-year-old models who cannot act. The magic system is wallpaper. The world building is set dressing. The actual show, the thing you are watching for 48 minutes a week, is a soap opera about whether the chosen one will finally kiss the sad blonde lady. This is not a coincidence. This is not a failure of individual showrunners. This is a structural inevitability of the medium itself. And tonight, I am going to explain why fantasy, as a genre, literally cannot survive translation to television. Let me start with the receipts. Game of Thrones, a show that began as a political intrigue set in a world with functional magic, functional gods, and a functional cosmology, and ended with Daenerys crying over Jon Snow while a dragon burned a sea. An entire continent at war with itself, monsters crawling out of the earth, and the show is about whether Geralt and Yennefer are back on or off this week. Carnival Row, House of the Dragon, Willow, The Rings of Power, every single one. Same structure, same shape, same soap opera engine, underneath the dragons. And here is the thing that is going to make you mad. It is not because the writers are bad. It is not because audiences are dumb. It is not because Hollywood executives hate fantasy. It is because the TV medium is structurally a relationship delivery system. Television was invented to sell soap, hence the name. The very first scripted serialized shows in America were 15-minute radio dramas designed to keep housewives emotionally invested from Monday to Friday, so they would tune in and hear an advertisement for Oxydol detergent. The structure that has survived 90 years is not the mystery. It is not the action. It is the unresolved relationship, the will they or. Fantasy literature is a genre where the protagonist is, in the final analysis, the world itself. And television cannot film a world. Television can film a face. Television can film two faces looking at each other. Television can film a kiss. But television cannot film a magic system, cannot film a cosmology, cannot film the thing that makes a reader fall in love with a fantasy book in the first place. Here is the lock. Television is the only visual medium where the production budget, the episode order, the marketing, and the very definition of success are all structured around keeping you emotionally invested in recurring human characters for as long as possible. A movie runs 2 hours and dies. A book ends when the story ends. A video game ends when you beat it. But a TV show's entire business model is retention across seasons. And the only thing human beings will reliably tune in for week after week for 3 to 8 seasons is relationship drama. Not plot, not world building, not. It was about whether Galadriel was going to trust the nice-looking stranger who may or may not be Sauron, and whether the dwarves were going to be okay with their wives, and whether Elrond and Durin's friendship would survive a misunderstanding about Mithril. $1 billion bought you a soap opera with extremely expensive hair, because that is what the medium does. You can hire the entire art department of Weta. You can film in New Zealand with 9 cameras, and the structure will still bend a story into the shape of a primetime relationship drama, because the medium's gravity well is too strong to escape. Let me pivot here, because I want to be fair. The problem is not that TV is bad. The problem is that TV is good at one thing, and fantasy needs a different thing. Television is magnificent when it is pointed at the right kind of story. The Sopranos, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Succession. These shows are about human beings locked in rooms together, processing their resentment. When you say you want a fantasy TV show that is true to the books, what you actually want is a film. You want a 2-hour, high-density, cinema-grade audiovisual experience, where the world is the protagonist and the characters are functions of the world. You want the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You want Spirited Away. You want Pan's Labyrinth. What you do not want, because you have been told over and over that you want it, is a 72-episode serialized romance novel with orcs in the background. The reason every fantasy TV show disappoints you is not that the writers failed. It is that you wanted something that the format cannot deliver. And the format put on a funny hat and pretended to deliver it. And by episode 8 of season 2, you realized you were watching The Bold and the Beautiful with swords. There is also a secondary failure mode I want to name, which is the world-building info dump. When fantasy showrunners notice that the world building is not coming through, they try to. Wonder requires novelty. Wonder requires the thing you are looking at to be genuinely unknown, genuinely new, genuinely irreducible to previous experience. But television, structurally, is about getting you to come back next week, which means the show has to feel like home. It has to feel like a place you already know. Every fantasy TV show, after about 6 episodes, stops feeling like a strange new world and starts feeling like a cozy hangout with people you recognize. The inn at the crossroads, the throne room with the dramatic lighting, the training montage in the courtyard. These are not fantasy locations. These are sitcom sets. The cast hangs out in them and has feelings. By the time you get to season 3, you are watching Friends with a dragon in the corner that occasionally flies off to remind you what show you are supposed to be watching. And this is why the most successful fantasy television of the last 20 years has not actually been fantasy at all. It has been domestic D. The moment you film it, it becomes a special effect, and a special effect does not sustain 40 minutes of screen time. So here is the kicker. Every time someone announces a new fantasy TV show, every time some streamer drops a trailer that promises this time will be different, this time the world building will come through, this time the magic system will be the star, I want you to do this exercise. Count how many human faces you see in the trailer. Count how many shots are of landscape. Count how many shots are of a magical phenomenon with no human in frame. The ratio will be about 20-1 in favor of faces. Now count how long each landscape shot lasts. Under 2 seconds every time. Because landscape does not hold attention in a trailer. Faces do. And a show that is sold on faces will inevitably be delivered as a show about faces, and a show about faces is a soap opera with better production design. The magic will always be wallpaper. Not because the writers are cowards, Beck. And every time someone tries, the medium wins, and you go to bed at night dreaming about Lothlorien, and you wake up in the morning watching 2 attractive people break up in front of a green screen. The dragons were wallpaper. The dragons were always wallpaper. The show was about the wallpaper the whole time.